Hey everyone, it's Caitlin. I'm gonna show you what I eat in a day. So I wanted to give you guys a little behind the scenes on what a workday looks like for me, and I also sort of am in the process of redoing my filming studio, so I thought it would be cool to share that with you guys. Basically, I just worked out, showered, got ready for the day, and then I probably spent about like 45 minutes answering some emails I posted on Instagram for the day. So sort of getting all my bases covered. I should have made breakfast, but I didn't. So I'm going to make a smoothie right now. And then today I'm going to be testing a recipe and filming another recipe. If the test goes well, I'll film that one too, but I'm not sure. So I'm testing a vegan and gluten-free lemon poppy seed loaf. I've wanted to make one for a while, and spring is coming, so I feel like it'd be a recipe that people would be interested in. So that's usually how I pick recipes, something I'm inspired by, or I try to keep it seasonal too. And usually the first thing I do is I look at recipes on my blog, or I'll also do some research online and look at other blogs just to see the general ingredients that go in a recipe, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. I typically look at non-vegan recipes because I really try not to copy other vegan recipes, and like I already have an idea of the ingredients I want to use. I just want to see like what non-vegan ingredients I might need to replace. So I already did that, and I wrote like a base recipe that I'm going to test first on my phone. And so I'm going to make that, put it in the oven, see how it goes, make tweaks. I usually test baked good recipes at least once before I actually film it. Just because when you already know what you're doing, the filming process goes easier, and you need to usually test a baking recipe more than once because they're more finicky, especially if you're doing something that you're not really familiar with. With savory recipes, I'll test them maybe once. It depends on the recipe. So if I've made something really similar and I'm just essentially changing seasonings and like the vegetables that are going into it, like a dump and bake casserole, I don't really need to test like the liquid ratios. But if it's something like a one-pot pasta and I'm adding like different ingredients to it or making a different kind of sauce, I'll usually test that before I film it, if it makes sense. But I've been doing this full time for several years now, so I don't need to test recipes as many times now as I did when I first started. But anyways, I just kind of get messy during this part. I got all of my ingredients out, and I'm just gonna put this together and then put it in the oven. The other thing that I do when I'm testing is I already go ahead and measure the grams of the ingredients, because I try to include US measurements and then metric too, so people in other countries or people who just have a food scale can bake with it, because it's honestly easier than measuring things out. So I usually do that when I test, and obviously if I need to tweak an ingredient, I'll remeasure it, but then that way, like when I'm actually prepping to film, I spend less time measuring everything out, and I can just sort of put it in my fancy filming bowls and go. The bread looked pretty promising when it was going into the oven, but I knew it wasn't gonna be a first time success. I think my issue was that the pan was too small, so the bread kind of collapsed inward, but I'm not sure. It's resting on a cooling rack right now, so I'll have to wait till it cools completely before I slice it. It might be too moist as well, so I will assess it later, keep that in mind, but overall, like the crumb on it looks good. So I think it's just like a final finagling of the pan size and the amount of liquid, which is always the hardest part for me. So while that cools and while I was cooking that in the oven, I went ahead and set up for my next recipe, which I'm going to be filming, and everything is on a baking tray because now we're going to go downstairs and I'll show you my studio. Okay, we're in my studio now. I guess it was my studio. I should take myself seriously, but this still isn't like a totally professional setup Basically, I moved into this house last August and there was an extra spare room in the basement. And I used to film all of my recipe videos in the kitchen, but when I decided to renovate the upstairs in the kitchen of my house, I couldn't do that during the day because the contractors were in there. So like, well, just film in the basement. We have a wet bar down here. I can like rinse things out if I need to. But then I actually realized that I kind of like it. So when I want to film intros and like in kitchen shots, I can still film up there. But now I can keep my studio set up in this room permanently, which is a really big time saver for me. And my lights just take up a lot of space. And you know, I've been trying to separate sort of like my work life and my personal life. When I just see the filming lights in my kitchen all the time, it's kind of stressful and I feel like I'm never gonna break. So now I have like a dedicated room. It's still under construction, but here's what I got so far and I'm really happy with it. I'll start by giving you just a brief pan of the room. I have my filming setup, prop storage, and then this is where I take photos. I shoot with artificial light. I actually just posted a blog post on my blog about all of my equipment, so I won't go into too much detail here, but if you want to check it out, I'll link it down below. So this is my new behind the scenes setup for YouTube. I bought this table that I film on, and then I have some storage underneath where I can keep my cooktops and the fan that I use, the trash can. Typically I set my ingredients off to the side here. This area is my filming space, and then the camera gets mounted to a C-stand so it looks directly down, and that's what you see in videos. And here I have my lighting setup. One is coming from behind a big diffuser, which makes the light look softer. Honestly, I hate my lights. I spent way too much money on them, but they were expensive, so I haven't replaced them. So I'm not gonna give any more info on them because I don't recommend them. Then this shelf used to be in actually my bedroom at our other house, but I turned it into prop storage, and I thought the metal legs looked good with the metal legs at the table. And these baskets are from Target, this dish rack, and a few other things that I got from Yamakaze Home. So I'm using that to help me organize like my cutting boards and my plates. I just keep my silverware in like glass jars. So this part is still under construction. This room has like an interesting ledge by the window, so I might try to put more props in there. And then I just have this corner, which is where I photograph. And that is pretty much it. I think I might end up putting some open shelving here for more prop storage. And then I actually have this, it's like a spice rack and a dish towel holder. It mounts to the bottom of a shelf. So I'm gonna mount this onto the wall here. So I just have more access to like a dish towel, and if I want to store like basic oils and blah that I use in every recipe video, I can just keep it all in one room and I don't have to keep running upstairs. The other like normally not good but good thing about this room is that because it's in the basement, the ceilings are relatively low, but in this case it's working to my advantage because the light has less distance to travel and it just bounces off of the white ceiling. So it reflects even more light onto the scene where I'm filming. So my filming quality is better and less grainy. So it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna try this, have it work it out. And honestly, the space is small, but I feel like because it's small, it's requiring me to be more neat and organized. So I'm actually being neat and organized instead of like spreading like an amoeba all over my kitchen. So that's how it's working for me. I am going to film this recipe video. I need to use this camera though. It gets mounted up there, and then I use my other camera just for taking photos. If you want more info, again, I wrote a blog post about the exact cameras, and I linked like everything I use, including my microphone and everything except for the lights because the lights kind of suck. But now it's time to make some chocolate waffles. I'm in the middle of filming, but I'm hungry for lunch. I hate when this happens, but I can't eat the food that I'm making because one is waffles and two, I'm not done filming it. So I need a snack. So I'm just gonna cut into this lemon bread, and then after I finish working, I'll figure out what the heck I'm eating for lunch. I really should be using a serrated knife. It looks moist. I'm just gonna cut it in the middle so I see how bad it is in the center because that's the spot that would be the least cooked. I'm cutting my head off, whoops. Honestly, it's not too bad. You can see their crumb structure is pretty good. It's a little more dense at the bottom. I think my biggest issue is the pan. Let's see, it's not gummy. Oh, flavor is perfect. I'm gonna eat this and then finish filming the waffles, figure out lunch. I just took a final bite shot to wrap up the video. I already finished the photos, so I just wanted to show you in action. The camera sits on the C-stand here, and so I can see what I'm filming from up there on that screen. And that's where it's happening. And I took a action shot, and this one is absolutely soaked in maple syrup, which is always what happens when you shoot with pour shots. So that might be dessert tonight. Back on my filming camera now. We actually don't have a ton of veggies in the fridge, so I made a very simple lunch with what I had. The funny thing is that I actually made something similar to this in a video that you guys are gonna see on Friday, but I actually ate it last week. but whatever. You'll get the official recipe in that, but here's a preview. So I still had some purple cabbage left, and this slaw is the main thing that I'm talking about that I literally just remade. It's like a cabbage, cilantro, jalapeno, lime juice, cumin, salt, and then this doesn't look very good, but I promise it is good. I made some brown rice in my Instant Pot, and I didn't have time to make beans, so I just had a can of black beans. There's a little left over there. And I topped it with some of this chipotle salsa that I found in my fridge. I'm currently on a quest to get rid of all of my million jars in my fridge. And then I have this cutie little avocado to top everything off with. So I'm just gonna pile this on top of this. For this being like cabbage, beans, and rice, plus a few other things, it actually looks pretty good. And I found some vegan chipotle mayo in the fridge, so I put a drizzle of that on top as well. Welcome to my messy office. So I'm going to eat this. Honestly, I'll probably watch like a YouTube video while I eat it to chill for a bit. And then I'm actually going to do some computer work for the rest of the day. Normally I would try to shoot another recipe, but I just don't feel like trying again with that lemon loaf. So I'm just going to edit the pictures that I just took and then type up the blog post information, so that will be ready to go once I want to publish it. Also, I'm just saying, if you don't have tortilla chips and you make cabbage slaw, the crunch is like almost as satisfying. So I ended up working pretty late, and I think I made just about the weirdest kitchen sink curry you could ever imagine, but I'll still walk you through it. All right, first I melted some coconut oil in a large pot, and then I just added in a ton of different spices without rhyme or reason. So we got like coriander, cumin, cardamom, cinnamon, fennel, mustard seed, and then I added in half of a diced yellow onion, sauteed that for a few minutes until it began to turn golden and brown and everything was nice and fragrant. Then I didn't have too many diced tomatoes, so I just decided to add in some tomato paste and saute that down for a little bit with the oil and all the spices too, to help it get a little bit more flavor. And then I added in some roughly chopped ginger and garlic, sauteed that for another minute or so, and then I just plopped everything in there. So we have some chickpeas that I made in my Instant Pot yesterday, 1 can of diced tomatoes, some potatoes because that's like the only veggie I had, and then I added in a bag of cauliflower rice because I don't even know how this got in my house. I don't even like cauliflower rice, and I was like, hey, cauliflower curry, it'll be fine. And then the other questionable thing is I tried to make my own coconut milk in a blender by blending coconut shreds in water, and it turned out really chunky, but it actually cooked down. It just like looks really gross right now. So then I added in water and a generous pinch of salt and just mixed everything together. And trust me, I know it looks really, really questionable right now, but luckily after I covered it and brought it to a boil, the color started to uniform a little bit. Oh, I also added turmeric. I don't know how that got cut out, but I did. And I just let it simmer down while I was like cleaning up my dishes for the day. So I probably let it cook for, I don't know, maybe like 25 to 30 minutes until it got a little bit thicker. And then it was ready to serve. Definitely not a traditional or the most appetizing looking curry, but you know what? I used what I had in my kitchen and hit the spot. So I just plopped it in a bowl and called it a day. I didn't feel like making rice because I already had rice for lunch. So just put it over some spinach. Honestly, the cauliflower rice just makes it look really chunky and weird, but hopefully it still tastes good. Needs more salt, but I mean like flavor wise, it's actually not bad. Wanna try it? What do you think?
That's good.
Thanks. Dylan and I ate dinner. It was good. Now we're going to eat the other things that I made earlier today for dessert. So there's 1 waffle left. Dylan already ate one earlier today. And they're gonna have some of this lemon poppy seed bread. So I'm so tired of cooking.
I'm so tired.
I made the bread, I made the waffles, I made lunch, breakfast, and dinner. And I fed the dogs.
And
I fed you. Oh, wow, food! So it's a work day, kind of a long work day for me. Thanks for watching the BTS. Do you want to sign off and say bye?
We're gonna go watch Westworld now.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. Did you fart?
No, I seriously didn't. I claim my farts.
Okay.
Well, it does smell like a fart. Did you fart?
Maybe it's low. 1, 2, 3. Ugh. Thanks for watching. Bye!